as we get going. Ladies and gentlemen, primarily just gentlemen, no ladies. To my knowledge, no ladies watch us.
My wife will watch this.
Will she watch it? Oh, good. Oh, good. So we have the one and only Kevin Liu, brother Kevin Liu. I would say our only Chinese, half Chinese brother, but that was
full Chinese.
You're full Chinese?
Yeah,
Chinese. But because we've got Tony, but the Tonys are not.
Nah.
And since then, I don't know. I haven't kept up with the guys. So maybe the undergrads have another Chinese, but you were the first Chinese of our chapter.
At least the largest. I can claim that probably.
The largest Chinese man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Kevin, how have you been, man? What is going on in your life? First of all, where are you?
So I live in Bluffdale, Utah.
Okay.
So right on the border of Salt Lake, Utah County. And really, I've been down in the valley since graduation. So we've been down here. When we first moved down here, lived out in Saratoga Springs, then moved to American Fork, then got married, lived in Draper for a little bit, and then after that, we've been in Bluffdale this whole time. So I like this location because for my day job, it's central, right off the freeway. I can get to the airport, and I can go north and go south, and it's just convenient.
Just pending traffic, right?
Pending traffic, but and that's, I guess, the pro and the con. The prison's moving, and we partly built here because of what that potential could look like down the road. And they're already demolishing and they're starting construction on it, but traffic's going to be a nightmare when that thing gets built. So we'll see. But where we live is great. We live in a cul-de-sac, and we live away from Main Street traffic, and it's quiet, and it's 2 minutes from the freeway. So it's great.
Very nice. Very nice. Bluffdale, been there. Okay. We're gonna play a little speed round of catch up because
okay.
I know you're married. What's wife's name?
Kim.
Kim. Kids?
2 daughters. 11
daughters.
And 8.
Okay, so I didn't know their ages. Yeah, Very cool. I've got an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Nice.
Very good. Very good. You graduated in what? Wait, actually, I can look this up. Oh, according to this, you got a couple BS in business finance. You got a bachelor's, so triple bachelor's. Is that true? Or good job, man. Finance, economics, and entrepreneurship. I wish I would have tackled that last one. I didn't know where I was going to be when I was in college.
That was probably the funnest major that I did. Yeah. If you would have asked me, like, if I remember anything from finance or economics, I'd be like, no. I couldn't remember a darn thing about what I studied or what I learned. But entrepreneurship, yeah, that stuck with me since I took that major in college, and it was great.
So going into Utah State, did you know what you wanted to be?
No.
Okay, so you're just hodgepodge like myself, just jumping around, figuring it all out.
All I knew was I had a track scholarship. I wanted to go to Utah State, and I just wanted to have a college experience and hang out with people and try to figure it out as I went, and still didn't really figure it out in college, right? And so and that's part of what the 20s are for, is just to figure out what you want to do, I feel like, and still trying to figure that out, but I think I'm starting to get there eventually. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm right there with you. Dude, okay, so looking back, I'm trying to rack my brain. I don't know previously, like, where are you from? Salt Lake? Where are you from originally?
Idaho Falls.
Idaho Falls? Okay.
Yep, from Idaho Falls.
And then what took you to Utah State?
Track. So
you just wanted to get out of Idaho, and you knew track would get you there. Was it Utah State, or did you have other?
Well, so long story short, so grew up in Idaho Falls, Chinese family with not a lot of Chinese people, and we weren't LDS at the time, or I wasn't, and just grew up there in a Chinese restaurant, and then played sports. So I did football, I did track, I was a shot put, discus thrower, And I could have done football. I could have gone to like a D3 school to play football. And then, but I was thinking what got me to Utah State was I went there. They had, Oregon was in town when I was in high school, and they were ranked like 5th in the country. It was like Joey Harrington, and they were like really like this top school. And coming from Idaho Falls, right? Like you don't get the exposure of like a college Phil or anything like that, because the closest thing was Pocatello, which had Holt Arena, and they sucked. And and so I went down for the game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing. This is great, right? I didn't know the team sucked, right? I didn't know like the football team was terrible at the time, and I was like, oh, that'd be fun to go there. So my friend's mom actually reached out to their track coach and sent him some videos and gave him my marks. And then they brought me down for a visit, and then they offered me a scholarship to come down. And my plan originally was to actually go to Boise State, because at the time my mom lived there and my sister was going to school there, and I could have gone to the track program there. But then Utah State felt right, and so just decided to go there, and it was kind of all downhill from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, okay, Idaho boy. For some reason, I did not know that. I thought you were Salt Lake. Well, 20 years later, I'm still learning a little bit more about you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So you get to Utah State. What's your plan? Did you have an idea going into it? Did you kind of start to dive into one area and bounced around a little bit? Or?
Well, when you first like decide to like apply for college and you put things that you're interested in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for some reason, like when in orientation, I was in the engineering program. Don't know how that happened. And so I'm in there and I'm like, well, my first thought was there's no girls in here. Like, I don't want to be in here. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I don't know if I want to dedicate my time. I don't think my brain works like an engineer does. And so I hurried and like opted out of there. Then I thought about doing physical therapy. And then I was talking to like our trainers for the track team, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to like be around stinky people and athletes and old people all the time. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that either. And so then I just kind of defaulted to business, and I was just intrigued by business just because you could do anything with business, right? Like really the world runs on business, and there's all these different avenues you could. So my initial thought was I want to go in and just kind of see what I like. And then I thought I was going to go into accounting, but in accounting, you have to like at least get a B in the entry class, and I could never get a B in it. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. And actually, like, because in Chinese culture, there's like a lot of pride, and you want to like make your parents proud, which they want you to be a doctor, lawyer, or accountant or whatever, right? And then I was like, no, I don't want to be an accountant because I can't pass that class. So then my next thought was, like I could do this finance econ major because you can just take a couple more classes and get the econ major tied to the finance major. And I was like, okay, that could look good, right? So then I decided to do that. And so I did that my first 4 years, and I was there for 5. And I had 1 more year of eligibility in track. And so they opened up that entrepreneurship major. And when they were telling me about it, they said, look, you're kind of like the one that's going to like make this major go, and you guys are kind of forming us the first class and how it would be in the future. Cool. And you can get your bachelor's in 1 year. So I was like, all right, let's do that. Like that sounds like fun. Right. And so that's just kind of how it played out.
That's sweet. I did not know you were part of that first cohort. I remember the creation of that. Mm-hmm. But I at that point I was checking out, saying get out of school.
Yeah.
Because my wife was on a 3-year track and I was on the 6-year track, and just had to match her get out at the same time.
But Tommy boy track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. Okay. Well, then let's reminisce a little bit about how you connected with SIGEP, because that's, that is where I know you from, when you came into SIGEP.
Mm-hmm.
Who introduced you into the chapter?
I think it was Scotty. I think it was Scotty Biggs. I think.
Was he before you? I thought you guys came in together.
Maybe it was. I don't remember, honestly. I don't remember if it was because, like, it could have been a couple things. It could have been because the athletic room was right next to Doc's office, right?
Okay.
I'm like, what is this, right? Somebody might have been like, hey, come check this out. I actually don't know. I don't remember who introduced me or, I mean, that was like, dude, you should have done these interviews like right after college. So like our minds aren't so like.
That's the point. How
It's
well
like 20 years ago.
Stuff.
Like 20 years ago. So
this has been valuable for me to just remember. I'm like, oh,
right.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. So, but I remember what I do remember is like we had those meetings in Doc's office in that room and just getting together. And it was I was kind of like I had like my workout in the gym next door, and then I would just like come over sweaty, and I was just like be there and like figure out what's going on and say hi to people. But I don't remember who
brought
like,
you
introduced me
or introduced you to it. Why did you join? You're in track, man. You didn't need us.
Well, I think I joined because my initial, like, I really love the Balance Man, and I thought I was like, well, I'm in track, but I want to excel in my life differently outside of athletics and just being able to my whole goal in college at that point was I wanted to just meet as many people as I could, because I was like, you don't know like who you meet and how that's going to impact your life in the future. So I try to associate with a lot of different groups of people, right? Whether it's like school people or SIGEP or track people or even different athletes in different programs. I tried to like just socialize with everybody, because just to be connected to people more than anything. And so what really intrigued me about SIGEP was just the brotherhood. Like I loved the guys that were in there. I loved just kind of how driven people were and how different we were. And everybody has like their own different walks of life, which is cool to see now because, 20 years later, like you kind of like see like all what people do now and what they're doing, and it's all different walks of life, and it's really neat to see. So
yeah,
dynamics
have changed a lot, but it's fun to have that connectivity through it.
Yeah,
agreed. Absolutely. Well, Kevin, I remember, I do remember you coming in after track often in tank top and shorts and sweaty. I remember that often. No, you always were, you and Biggs, because come to from track together, and yeah, you guys were always that dynamic too. Were you guys roommates at all, or?
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys, did you get paired as roommates, or where did you know? See, I've asked Scott to come on board, but he won't sign up for an interview. So
what? Why won't he sign up?
I've asked him. He hasn't responded. Got to harass him a little bit. So I don't know where I just knew you guys were always kind of a pair together.
Okay. So I remember this story. So we were paired up in the dorms together, and the only communication you had was you could like see who your roommate was before you like got to school. So you got their email address. I don't think there was a phone number. And so I'm coming from Idaho. He's from California. I don't know, like, to me, I'm thinking just like California's like big, right? I'm thinking like LA and all that type of stuff, Hollywood stuff. And this is what I said to him. I emailed him and I said, hey, my name's Kevin. I'm from Idaho. I'm this big Chinese guy, and I want to just introduce myself before we got to school. Are you like this big black guy, like from California that's going to be my roommate? And I like sent that as the email. And
as polar opposite as I could be.
Right. So he never responds, right? And I'm like, maybe it's not his email. Maybe he's like offended him. I don't know, right? So then moving day comes, and I'm like really excited, and I'm like the first one to move into the dorms, right? I'm like, get my set ready, and I'm like, had the door open, I had like a welcome, like sign whatever, and I was like waiting for Scott to come. I'm like, who is this guy? And then all these other rooms started filling up, and everybody was coming in, right? And Scott doesn't show up. Like, he's not there. And then finally at like, it's probably like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, he pulls up, and I'm like, Scotty? He's like, who are you? I'm like, I'm your roommate. And then I said, hey, you're not this big black guy. And he's like, what? He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, did you get my email? And he's like, no. So, and then that's kind of how we hit it off. So,
okay, so you were randomly paired together and then kind of just become good friends from there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, so for those that don't know Scott, hopefully you'll get him next, and he's
come on, Scott.
Big
tell your
guy.
side of the story. That's right.
We'll leave it at that. With SIGEP, tell me a little bit, because obviously I do this for a couple reasons. One, we want to play catch up, and we'll play catch up about your current life. But also in college, it's the memories that you guys bring up.
Uh-huh.
So what are a couple key moments with SIGEP that really stand out for you?
I can think of 3. So,
Okay.
The first one would be the retreats. I mean, those are just
So
I remember when Dewey was talking about them, right? When we were talking
Okay.
about taking the mattresses out, and
as
there's
you're
a
doing
picture.
this, you keep talking. I'm gonna share. Oh shoot! Now where is it?
So there's a picture out there. I think me and Dewey are like ramming each other with like mattresses, right? And then we were like sliding down the stairs, and we were like, like it was like that cabin up in Bear Lake was amazing. It was awesome.
There we go.
That's the one.
That's the
one.
picture.
That
That
the
was an
picture.
Epic night.
That was an epic night.
So
I
yeah,
remember that.
we would do
And-
that. We would do. You guys did this wrestling. We're just, and you and Dewey were by far some of the biggest guys we had, and you would go full tilt at each other.
Oh yeah, full tilt. That picture brings back memories. Oh man, look at the background.
I know. Travis. Oh, there's and there's Scotty Biggs.
There's
A-Train.
Yep, there's A-Train. And
So-
and even like the other retreats, I remember we did that cross the line one where we were talking about like, hey, have you ever this, or like, have you done this before? And people would step forward or step back.
Mm-hmm.
And that was neat to just to like get to know each other better. Right. And I don't think, I mean, especially in college, like I've never had an experience where you just have such a brotherhood to like, you're just in a cabin together and you're doing things to get to know each other and like be better friends with each other. And so the cabins were like epic, man. Those were great.
Mm-hmm.
I loved them. We should do like a 20-year like cabin retreat just to like.
The problem is we need to find a place like that location, because that held us comfortably.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're a lot bigger
Agreed.
than we used to be too, though. I could sleep on anything. Now I'd have to complain.
Oh yeah. Now I need like my own mattress, my own pillows, and like everything.
Yeah, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Here, speaking of that same retreat, I'll share one more little kickback. When I think of Kevin Liu, you were the pancake master.
The pancake master. That's right. I made all the different logos and symbols of the pancakes.
Well, and that's part of the brotherhood is just like we would all do these events. We'd go all night. We'd play games. But then in the morning, we had responsibilities. We all pitched in because we were cooking for, 30 brothers and you each take turns and you make it fun. And
absolutely.
Yeah. There's one of the I have some, so I've got a couple folders, and this is one that always rotates. I don't know why this is the one that rotates the most, but this one pops up.
Because you have a man crush on me, that's why.
I guess. It's the arms.
All right. Next time I'm down in St. George, I'll make you some SIGEP pancakes.
Absolutely. You gotta come down.
So, second thing I remember is flag football, man. Like, we had, because I had to put that together, put our teams together, and it was fun to like just collaborate, make plays, and Dewey throwing me 2 game-winning touchdown throws for the game when the time ran out. He lobbed one in the air. Hail Mary caught another one. We had a fun, we did really well for those football teams. And that was a good time. It was fun playing in the stadium too, like just playing in the football stadium. So And the last one is service. Like I loved doing the service projects. I loved homecoming week. Loved the spectrum. Loved just like representing what the fraternity was trying to do or was doing. And I thought we put our stamp like the years we were there, because we were trying to like be involved with the community, be involved with the school as much as we could, and like represent the fraternity well. Right. And so, that's what I really took away from it. And it was great.
So, and I think that's something that fraternities, good and bad, there's some bad that comes with it, but regardless, it's a lot about building the university. I think we took it upon ourselves to be, come to every activity, come to every service project, we were actively going to participate. And it wasn't just SIG up activities. It was every activity. We wanted to have a presence, and there was a camaraderie about it, because it's also that experience. I've got nieces and nephews that have gone up to Utah State, and some don't get involved. That's like,
right.
How was college? Oh, it was all right. Got a degree. No, dude, it's not about the degree. Yes, it is about the degree. Any undergrads, get the degree. But it's more about what you learn outside of the classroom. It's the experiences you have, and those you cannot put a price to. And SIG funneled a lot of those to me.
And I also love that, like, because when we were, like, especially when I was there, I think when we did that cross the line thing, somebody asked the question, who was LDS and who's not? And I was the only one that wasn't within the whole fraternity. So we didn't do any partying with alcohol and all that type of stuff. And I think we put our focus on how to make ourselves better people by putting us into, like you're talking about, like the community, the university, and we're kind of really putting our footprint out there to be leaders, right? And so that appealed to me just because I wanted to grow as a person, and our group was so great at like just how diverse we were, but everybody kind of had that same common goal of trying to find the balanced man and be the balanced man. And it's great to like hear these interviews you do and just see how people are doing and just catch up with people, and it sounds like people are doing great, which is awesome.
Yeah. As far as I know. If I don't know, it's because I can't keep track of them.
Yeah.
So, and that is something that I think the Brotherhood has created, this group connection a little bit more than, I have roommates. I think you knew Les Essig. Like, love the guy. He was my roommate for 2 years. Still good friend, but I do not communicate with him nearly like I do any of my SIG brothers. I talk to you more than I talk to him. Yeah. And it's just like, this was my roommate for 2 years. And so, yeah, the Brotherhood and going through certain events has definitely institched a deeper meaning to that connection. So yeah. I crave, that's kind of why I created this, is I crave to know where everybody's at. It's been too long, and I miss communicating with everybody. So that's part of the reason I'm doing this, is to know more about you. That being said, we've talked college. Let's do a run through the last 15 years now. When you got out, I originally remember you going to Enterprise, because I remember getting a deal. It's like, I need to rent a car. Can you hook me up? You're like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was where you started. But yeah, give us a rundown of the last few, 10, 15 years and what you're doing currently, and let's dive into that.
So I guess from a career standpoint, let's start. I think I want to start back in college, because I think it kind of guided me to where my career is now. So, okay. So in college, I did the door-to-door thing. I went out and knocked for a couple summers. I also put on this, do you remember And One basketball? Like street ball, right?
Yeah.
So
what happened to that? That used to be huge.
There's a documentary about how it died now. But at the time, I got And One players to come to Logan to do a one-night show. So I had to get sponsorships. I had to get radio ads. I had to get the venue. I had to get the DJ. So I went around and sold this And One program. I had to put the posters together, and I kind of put it all together on my own. And then my buddy, who was one of their agents, brought N1 in for the night to do an event up in Smithfield. And so I did that. And then I also worked like temp jobs. I worked at the iFit or Icon Fitness warehouse. I've worked at they used to have like a bounce house place that shut down. Worked at Kavanaugh's doing pizza, pasta delivery, that type of stuff. I lifted pianos, did piano delivery. I mean, I did kind of anything and everything, right? And so, so I did all that stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to do like slave labor for the rest of my life. I don't want to like do like hard labor. Like I just want to like chill, right? And so, so then I went to enterprise out of college, and it was really like, what do I do? Like, I don't know what I want to do. And enterprise appealed to me because they have this training program that just teaches you kind of how to run your own branch or your own office. And so it consists of like learning to do the financial piece of it, the customer service aspect of it, the marketing piece, the sales side specifically. They're really heavy on sales of what you sell, and the performance of the branch. So this training program trains you to eventually let you interview to run your own branch in your own office. So I went through that program. I actually met my wife there, and that's probably like the best thing that came out of working for enterprise, just because you work for pennies, right? Like out of college, you're like, oh man, like this is a lot of money. Like you make like 36 grand a year at the time. But then you realize like you're working for pennies, you work for nothing, and you work a lot of hours. And, but it did teach me like the ins and outs of how a business runs and how like to interact with people and how to just like problem solve on the fly, and really just new situations come up all the time that you're trying to figure out a solution for a problem within a team environment. So I worked my way up there, went into management there, and then something out of my control happened with one of my employees. And then at that time I was like, I don't know if I want to manage people anymore, just because there's a lot of things outside of your control that it falls on you if something happens. And so then I switched there and I went into their sales side of selling their cars. And that was great. So I realized when I went into that route, I was like, okay, I like this role because I can control what I can control. So whatever work I put into whatever I want to sell, then it's my effort and I get rewarded on the effort that I put in. Okay. So, but then at the time, we were having our first kid, and I didn't want to be home late. I didn't want to have to go to work early. So I decided to switch roles, and I switched, and I went over to this company called ADP. So we did payroll processing, human capital management, that type of stuff. And that was my very first experience going into business to business sales, just talking with companies and corporations and selling them payroll, HR services and whatnot. So it was kind of a combination of a service company as well as a technology company, to give them technology to automate a lot of those processes internally to keep them in compliance. So I played in that world for a long time, and did software for a long time. And then 4 years ago, I switched to my current company, which is this company is called Allianz Trade. So we do what's called trade credit insurance. So I went from software sales to insurance sales now, where I work for the carrier. And ultimately, what our product does is we insure accounts receivables for clients. So like your world, Oz, like you have suppliers, right, that you buy from, and then you go sell it to the end customer. So we would insure the receivable for your supplier on you. So if you don't pay your suppliers, then we step in to write them a check for that loss. So I work with a lot of companies that are looking to negotiate better terms. So I look at a lot of financials like balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statements to help determine the health and wellness of companies, if they can or cannot pay their bills, so that I can help my policyholder negotiate better terms to give their customers or their suppliers, to help them ultimately sell more product and grow their top line revenue. So, oh, I can't hear you, Oz. Are you on mute?
Dude, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was coughing for a bit there. So, yeah, I didn't know that that's where you're at right now. We connected back when you were doing some HR, the payroll stuff, because I worked for Ascend HR at that time.
Oh, that's right.
I was getting into the whole payroll, but I was selling more other HR services outside of payroll. We did payroll, but that was like a small side. So yeah, as you're expressing, these are the things that kind of you learn a little bit here, you learn a little bit there, you kind of learn about yourself through enterprise. You don't want to manage specific people. As I've learned, employees make my life a lot more harder than the actual sales of my products.
Right.
So, with paychecks, you learn some valuable stuff with HR and payroll.
Oh, absolutely.
That you take with you. And so, that is fascinating. Is it I guess with insuring, because I look at this, I obviously source in China. My factories are there. That's something that it's always been a hectic thing. When I used to have my other company, a container was, $55,000 just sitting. And it always freaked the crap out of me that I'm like, if that doesn't come through correctly. So I've never looked at insurance. I know you can insure the container. Shipping goes.
Shipping of it.
But you guys.
The payment of it.
The payment.
Yeah.
Or are you representing more the manufacturers? So is that
really all up and down the supply chain, all the way to the end customer, who the end customer is, right? So, we represent really, it can be the raw materials to the manufacturer, to the wholesaler, to the distributor, eventually to the retailer, right? And then where it stops is the retailer that goes to the end consumer. So we don't do that part of it. Mm-hmm. Right. But if it's business to business on open terms, all up and down the supply chain, then we monitor the health and wellness of companies to see if they're insurable or not.
Huh. That's cool. I never know. Yeah.
So but to back to the point of, I guess I'm going to tie this back into the entrepreneurship class. The one thing I took away is that when they were talking about when you're wanting to go into a market and when you're wanting to really like how to go into market as an entrepreneur, which I'll even talk about like the company I started last year after. But what they talk about is you want to like be different. You want to have a niche, and there's got to be demand for what you're doing. Right. And so when I decided to do my current role with Allianz Trade, I'm the only person in Utah that does what I do. So nobody else does it. So there's no competition, which is great as you're growing a business and an entrepreneur. But also I'm like the subject matter expertise in what I do. So I work with a lot of banks, right, that are looking for, from a lending standpoint, to be able to lend more. And I can help banks do that. And then clients just know who I am because they know that I'm the guy to go to if they need what we do. Right. And so, so on that side, I work for a multi-billion-dollar corporation, like a top 25 brand in the world, but we're also very entrepreneurial where people still don't know what we do. So we have to educate the market on who we are and what we do, which then makes me more of a subject matter expert and a center of influence for their business. So I can consult with them, which is what I really love to do.
Wow. So how granular do you get? Like in the scheme of things, because you're the only agent here in Utah, mm-hmm. do you have to know top down every little level?
Oh yeah.
How did you come into this?
I just found it online and reached out to the recruiter. And it's like, hey, I want to do this. And then the great thing is like, I've realized early in my career, I love sales. Right. And so I love talking to people. I love strategy of sales. I like learning and understanding how to go through a sales process with clients and how to bring value and all that stuff. And as my career's evolved, like I've sold from, B2C business to consumer to B2B small business to medium size, now to multi-billion-dollar corporations. So I've evolved in my career as a salesperson. And what I've learned is that, all the things that you've taken from the past to what you are now, I mean, that's valuable for your client because you have experience and you've been doing these things, right? And so, what I just remember? I don't remember your question. I just started babbling on, man.
Well, just how did you come across this? Because did you have some knowledge of like one piece of the whole pie? You're like, I want to learn more about it. And so you just reached out, not knowing a thing about this industry and
correct.
But you could sell, you've done business to business, business consumer, you understand that concept, and selling in any industry is similar. That's the thing. That's the great thing. Going back to college, man, door-to-door sales. I did it for a summer.
Yeah.
And that is such invaluable to learn how to go approach a stranger and
Overcome
just
rejections.
pitch them.
Get
how's it gonna?
98% of the time. Yep.
Yeah, you hear the no's, but it's like, how do I create the yeses? It's not about
Correct.
getting no's. It's like, I can take any no. Can I create it or turn it into a yes?
Correct.
That's when you know you're a good salesman. And you could take that and be a tour guide in Alaska and make up a lot of facts to tourists.
That's right.
It's perfect.
There's a whale over there. That one's name is Big Blue.
Yeah, no. To being a door-to-door sales guy and being a tour guide ended up being very similar as far as like you have a limited amount of time and you're converting them to give you bigger tips, right? Or get a sale at the end.
Yeah, and
all it is.
I'm in the opinion that no matter what you do in life, you're always selling, right? Yeah. You're selling yourself to somebody for a job interview. You're selling a product. You're selling for a job promotion. You're selling yourself to somebody that potentially wants to marry you. Like, there's everything in life is about sales and how you sell and present yourself. And so I've really, over the years, tried to like learn new ways to sell and figure out if I know how to sell, if it's the way that people are teaching it, and kind of put my own spin on things and just build who I think a salesperson should be, in my opinion. And so when I interviewed for this job, it checked the boxes of I wanted to be a niche market. I wanted to be something where like I see a lot of opportunity where it's not flooded in the marketplace. And I wanted to not just have it where anybody can sell and it's low cost leader. I didn't want that. And so I wanted to have something that brings value, where I can actually make a name for myself, where people will look at me as a consultant and the expertise that I have. And so when I said I wanted it, then I had the resume to prove it, hit multiple President's Clubs with my previous jobs. And so I was like, no. So when I talked to a recruiter, I'm like, hey, I see this. I want this job. What do I do? Right. And then I just kind of took it by control and I just got it at that point. So
and how long have you been with them?
4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
let me ask this question. What do you not like about your job? Hey, we all have something.
So yeah, this brings to my next thing that I want to talk about, what I started. So I started this company, Been Showered, last year. It's a garbage can cleaning business on a recurring revenue cycle. And I love my job. But it's still a massive corporation, right? And you're still a very little fish in a massive pond. And for me, I'm like, if I look at what I want in a career, I don't look at my career as like my end all be all. Like, my whole point in life is to have a balanced life. And I want to make sure that I take care of my family and that we live the fullest in the life that we have. Right. And so I look at working for a corporation as like, look, like, it pays the bills. I'm good at what I do, but I want to build something where I can build wealth on my own to be able to do what I really want to do, which is have a good life for my family and travel and do service and help others and mentor, all that type of stuff. And so I started this company with a business partner where, so I'm really big. I love pickleball right now. I'm like a huge, crazy fanatic in pickleball. And
come on down. This is the promised land down here.
Yeah. St. George is the promised land, which people are kind of snotty down there. Like, if you get to a certain level, people like don't let you play because they think they're better than you down there. So
you're just going to the wrong courts. I go to the courts.
The right ones, man.
I'm no good. I play. I have fun, and I just tease. I joke around with people, and so, anyways, I've never had issues. But my parents are the people you're talking about. They're snotty. Okay. My dad's 76 years old and can kick my trash in pickleball still. And oh no, you're too much. You're doing this wrong. Or so he's always critiquing. I get it.
So I was playing with one of my buddies, and we always just kind of float ideas back and forth, and we didn't really pull the trigger on anything before. And so this garbage can cleaning business came up, and I was like, okay, let's see if this checks the boxes of what I learned in entrepreneurship, right? So does it have good profit margins? Like, what's the runway on this? And how can we turn a profit? How soon can we turn a profit? Is this sustainable? What's the long-term goals of this company, right? And so we started Been Showered, where it was really an idea, and I found a truck for sale down in McAllen, Texas, right on the border. And I flew down and I drove it back. And I was like, okay,
we're in
I guess we're doing this. So we kept saying, are we doing this? We're doing this. And so, but then what that did was that forced me to really put together like a
you burned
plan.
the boat, right?
Yeah, like I had to like,
I know where to get back.
Get the logo. I had to get the website. I had to get my systems in place. I had to like put a marketing plan in place. And then I had to budget of how I was going to promote the company and the business. So I just had to like do all this entrepreneur stuff that I was like, wow, there's always something to do, something new to do. Right. And so we bring the truck back and we launched in April of last year, and the model's great. I mean, it's a model where it's a new industry, which I wanted, where there's not a lot of competition. And it's something that is easy to sell. If you're talking door-to-door sales, like the wife is asking the husband to do it. The husband definitely doesn't want to do it. And their garbage can't stink, or there's maggots in it. And they're like, who do we get to do this? Right. You just have to be there. And they're like, okay. So once people get it done, and it's great, because then, I mean, I think we have like 50 5-star reviews now after 1 year. And it's just, people love the service because it's such a great service where we take our truck, there's lifters, we lift it upside down. We have these spray heads that spray it with 200-degree water. So it sanitizes the truck or the garbage can, it cleans it, and all that dirty water goes into a hopper so we don't go push it down the drain. We take it to a dump, right? So it's a great service, but it's still new, where you have to educate the market on it. And there's great things that are going on with this industry. But so for me, I built this business with my partner to really just to build some passive income initially. But long-term, we want to franchise, and we want to replicate this model across the country, because we already have systems in place to be just turnkey, turn it on anywhere else, and people can replicate it and make passive income on it. And it could be very profitable. So
that was what I was going to ask, is I have seen this, but normally it's a franchise. Like you're buying in and they set it all up. So you guys took this from the ground, and you knew the concept, but you got your own truck and created it from the bottom up.
Absolutely. Yep. So,
excuse me.
I didn't know I was capable of doing that. Like, it just I kind of had to just like hunker down and figure out how to do this, right? I learned how to build a website. Never done that before. Learned how to vet out CRM tools and marketing tools. And it was definitely a learning experience, but it's good.
Well, and I look back to college. I think that's kind of why we were, I would say, by definition, we were successful in college as far as a fraternity. Mm-hmm. We were brand new. We didn't know. None of us knew what we were doing. And they're like, "Is this an activity? Is this okay? Let's just do it. Is this can we do this? Can we do that?" We didn't know, and we just figured it out. Did it because that's we wanted to do it. Why couldn't we? Right. And I agree with you. Like, those are some of the tools that I think I've taken from SIGEP and brought into my life. Is like, I've got to figure it out. I'm now committed. Let's just go forward. Like, there's nowhere. Yeah. I'm not going to go backward. Let's just go forward. But also, all things are kind of possible, right? As long as you have good thing. You've looked ahead and said, okay, what is my budget? What are the plans? What am I looking for? What's the unique value proposition that I could offer people? And what are those key components? And you kind of had all those dialed in. You just had to find the right business that matched it. And
correct.
So now you're going forward. So you're a year into it. Things are going well. And you bring up, this is something that in my world, if you can get reoccurring revenue, that's
the holy grail, man.
Dude, that's gold.
That is gold.
Yeah, you guys, in your business model, you're trying to say, hey, let's set this up. We'll come by once every 3 months or once every month. And now you have a route, and every 6 months you're getting X amount of dollars.
Correct. Yeah. And it'll, especially up here, because it's winter, right? And so cans don't seek as much. So there's not a growth stage in the winter, but having that recurring revenue model, right? Mm-hmm. Where you come every month, every other month, every quarter, it allows you to continue that cash flow until you grow again, which is spring and summer and fall.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the model is great because any recurring revenue model is awesome. And I just didn't know of one that's in the service industry like this. And we just check our books every month and check our P&L. And I'm like,
as long as it's black.
I'm like, what is this?
Well, so let me ask that question. And you don't need to divulge certain numbers, but obviously you went in with a certain amount of money that you're like, hey, I'm comfortable losing. Because starting any business, you have to be comfortable losing X amount of dollars. You had a partner, you both go in and say, okay, we're going to lose X. But if it all works out, we want to pay things off by 3 years, right? 4 years. What is your plan? Like, do you feel you'll be 100% in the black within a 3-year turnaround? Or
actually, we'll probably be there after this year.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So 2 years we'll be there.
That's huge.
And I have 2 employees now, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what we want to do on the marketing side of things, of how we want to promote it more. But 2 years, because the great thing about this type of business is the more route dense you get, the lower your costs get, because you're not driving as much. The time to go from job to job is a lot shorter, and you're just turning around profit. You're basically picking up a $40 bill every 5 minutes. And so we just have to get more condensed, and we'll be black by the end of this year.
So you got to work towards HOAs, right? Get the HOA to sign that. Like, everybody has to do it.
Everybody has to do it.
Lump it in. There's your cash cow.
Or the waste management companies that recycle the bins through, and you just park your truck and clean and turn and burn. So
So how did you end up coming? How do you learn on that front? Like, what is a cost breakdown? Because you bring up the number 40. You're using hot water, gas. Obviously, now there's an employee in the mix. Were these all just guesstimates that you were making at the time? Like, okay, obviously, when did you bring in an employee? Because you did it yourself, but your time is your money. But as an owner, you're like, I'm willing to go in lose money on these first couple months. Yeah. So I guess, was it always dialed in at 40? You knew that was kind of a number, or?
No, that's just kind of how it played out. Me and my partner were both doing it until we could get it off the ground, right? Until we started turning a profit. We had enough clients to support it. And then I reran my numbers with an employee, paying them pretty good, actually, hourly wage for what we pay compared to the industry or what other people pay. And we were still profitable, extremely profitable. And I was like, why are we still making like decent money doing this, right? And so then we ran our numbers, and we just realized that our routes are getting denser and people are signing up for more cans. We were only anticipating people doing up to 2 cans, but a lot of people have 3. They have a green waste can, a recycling can, and a regular can. So the difference in that money right there, I mean, really pays for my driver itself. And so all that factored in is why really we jumped into it, because when we started looking into this business, I reached out to a couple of franchises, and the amounts they were going to charge on top of me having to buy a truck. But they shared their financials with us, and I'm like, whoa, and with my real job, I look at financials all day, and I'm like, okay, there's something here that we're missing, right? And I saw that the market was still very ripe for what we do, and it still is. And so that's when we just kind of jumped into it, right? Because it's the first, I'm not a risk taker by nature. I'm very much I check all the boxes before I determine if I want to do something, and I've never pulled the trigger on it. And so, but this one checked all the boxes and then some. It was you just saw the financials and you're like, okay, that's icing on the cake. I know exactly how many I have to sell to get to that point every year. And it's turned out, man, it's been great. So
congratulations. That's fantastic, honestly. I know you need it. You need to launch your second truck down here in St. George. We got a lot of old people that don't want to deal.
Nope. And it's hot year round.
Landscaping is such a booming, that pest control stuff, that house maintenance, old people don't want to deal with. And
and they have money.
And they got
retirement
money.
home. It's their second house, and
ridiculous. So there you go. That's
be on the lookout. Been showered.
All right.
Let's 2025 or 2024.
Okay. So you have launched this to kind of break free of one day of the corporate kind of expectations and give you some more freedom. Where do you see yourself? Let's do 2 parts, 5 years and in 10 years.
From a career standpoint,
yeah, career
possibly.
and life. I don't know, do you want to be 30 pounds heavier?
Professional pickleball player in 5 years. No. I don't know right now. 5-year plan. The thing is, like, I love my like insurance job. Like, it's and in a way you're building that business like it's your own business anyways, because I have to manage my own portfolio, my own book of business that will continue to grow as I sell. And so it's great because then, like, you have really good income that comes in just from renewing clients every year. And then it'll help me support my other ventures if I want to. I think I'm at the point in life now I'm starting to dive into a little bit of real estate, right? And so I'm getting involved in a couple funds and learning about the real estate world and what I want to do in real estate just to build. I think let's just do this as a 5 and 10 year goal. My goal is to build passive income that will really work when I'm sleeping. Like, that's the ultimate goal. I enjoy working where my work is learning new things. Like, I get bored too easy doing stuff. And so I always need to be involved with something. And usually it's like at least 3 to 5 things at the same time, so I don't get bored. And so if there's still something to learn, I'll continue to do it. If I feel like I'm not learning anything, then I get bored. And so, and I think that's what keeps me going is the ability to learn new things or learn new industries or whatnot, so I can, always have something that I'm passionate about or find my next passion to do. So
if I gave you all the money that you ever needed, I waved my magical wand and you got all the money now, what would you do? Would you continue? You bring up learning, or earlier you mentioned travel, this, that. You mentioned a couple things, hinted.
So
money was not an object. What are you going to do?
Here's the one thing I would do. And this is probably just because it's me, because I love to mess with people and I love to make things very awkward for people. So I would go and like be this mentor to people. And then I would throughout life, I would give them challenges or skills that they'd have to do and accomplish. And then the goal is to eventually hike a mountain, and then you got to find the treasure box, right? And what I want to do is I want them to climb that mountain, open the treasure box, and it's just a mirror. and it's look, I gave you everything you need in life. It's right in front of you. And then they'll be oh, freaking Kevin, I hate you. That bastard. What are you doing, man? That's messed up.
You're going to do some long-term teases.
No, that's going to build character, man. That's going to they're going to become this person because I mentored them through life, and they already have everything they need. They don't need the $1 million in the box. They need to look in the mirror and see that it's already in front of them.
Well, and I'd say that's some sage wisdom, because oftentimes people look on the outside and they're not looking on the inside. They don't realize that they are what they're looking for. They're trying to fulfill it with outside appearance.
Yeah. And so, I don't know if this is a blessing in disguise or what, but I've never cared what other people really thought of me. I just kind of always been who I am, and I've never had the outside influence and the pressure of people expecting things from me. And I think that's helped me in my life to just do what I wanted to do and not have consequences of thinking what other people thought of me if I choose to do something. And so I looked in the mirror a long time ago, man. I didn't even have to climb a mountain to do it. So
that mirror's always been there.
Yeah. So, but to your point, like if I had all the money in the world, because at some point it's not about the money, right? You need money to live off of and survive and pay bills and all that stuff. But at some point when let's say you do get to that stage in your life and you just have all the money in the world, then my biggest thing is I've always wanted to give back. Like I've always wanted to, I never served a mission because I joined the church later. I'd love to go on a mission with my wife. I'd love to just serve other people and find ways to help other people that that have less than I do. And so I think for me that will fulfill a lot of what I think will be in the later parts of my life, right? In the 50s and 60s and beyond. So that's what I see myself, man. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm working towards.
Awesome. I got to ask this question because I know you started this. Well, I've touched base with you randomly through the last 15 years. And I think a couple times I've reached out to you and another time you reached out to me. I do want to ask this on a random note. Did the Amazon, you asked me to, if this is a good Amazon company to buy. This was 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah. I
said, don't. Do you feel like you dodged a bullet or you're like, dang it, that was a missed opportunity?
No, I think I dodged it.
Okay.
So I appreciate your wisdom on that, right?
I always wondered, like, you the follow-up of that, of like, you asked for my opinion, and I gave you my opinion, but I do know you have that because of that, and I think there was another experience where I know you've been craving to do something of your own.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked that you're doing what you're doing, but I've always been wondering, like, am I pushing his dream back further by saying no, or should I really try to help him figure this out? Like, could it work? But yeah, based on what I've seen, it wasn't.
I dodged a bullet there. Yeah,
you dodged a bullet. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay,
thank you.
Good.
I owe you, man. We'll play some pickleball.
You don't. Okay, yeah, just come down. Let's play pickleball. You can teach me a thing or two.
Okay.
Kevin, thank you so much. I like to finish things off with two, and you can go on as much as you want. But one is, what would you like to say to any undergrads that are in college right now that have joined SIGEP that are like, what's this fraternity about? What's life all about? What do you want to give? What advice would you like to give to them? And then a follow up of, what do you want to tell your brothers that you haven't seen in 15, 20 years?
All right. First question. So what if I look back at my life, especially like in college and beyond, I would say cherish your friendships and make as many connections and deep friendships as you can in college and in your 20s. I feel like, me personally, like I said, I didn't feel like I learned anything in college. What I learned was how to plan, be disciplined. I did track and I socialized and I try to balance kind of everything that college is involved. If you ask me what I learned from a book, no idea, no clue whatsoever. And really, you can learn anything from YouTube anyways. Like, you can just go pull up YouTube and learn like anything you want, right? So, but relationships matter. And I've contemplated going back to get my master's degree a little bit, but not just for the degree. Like, I really want to just do it to make connections more than anything. Because I think people is what drives what we're going to do at the end of the day with our lives. So cherish your relationships, make many friendships, and just really just get yourself out there and do things that are uncomfortable at the time that you think, because that uncomfortableness leads to comfort, which eventually leads to you learning something new, whether you succeed at it or fail at it. And then in your 20s, take some risk. You can take risk in your 20s because you typically in your 20s, your expenses aren't higher and you can decide to do things and you have something to fall back on usually if it doesn't work out. And you can really figure out and learn what you potentially want to do in your life, right? And then I'm in my 30s. And so I feel like this is the time in life where you start to figure things out in your life. And then eventually something might click and you might find what you love to do. Right. And so, but take those early years to really just build those relationships, keep them, maintain them, and then just learn. So, and then the second part of your question, Oz. So to the brothers, right, that we got to go to school with and be in SIG up with, I think for me, like, I wanted to do this because I've loved just hearing and seeing what people are doing in life. And I think what I would love to do is just connect more with people, right? People that I haven't talked to in years. And it's so easy to just use social media as an excuse, like, oh yeah, like they're doing well, or oh, there's their family, or oh, they did this trip. But I'd love to just reconnect with anybody and everybody, because I think when you later on in your life, especially when you have kids and you have a family, life gets busy, right? And you kind of become the one that's responsible for the financials of the home and for your family and their well-being. And we kind of, as men, get pushed aside on what, we might potentially need from a mental health standpoint and a brotherhood standpoint. And so for me, I'd love to just reconnect with as many people as I can. And if anybody ever needs to talk or just wants to say hi or just check in, or just if they're having a bad day, like, I think I'm a good listener. My wife might say not, but I'm always here for really anybody, especially somebody that's in the brotherhood. So that's what I want to say.
Kevin, thank you so much. So reach out to him, say hi if you want to. Also, if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship or risk management, Kevin's your guy. He doesn't want competition, so you'll have to go to a different state, but he can teach you the ropes.
Exactly. There you go. Or pickleball. There we go.
Or pickleball. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you say it, but I think we need to see some pickleball in action. So I'm not going to give you credit.
I'll send you some highlights. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Give us a highlight.
Real. Yeah.
Kevin, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on, man.
I'm going to